Hello traders, room members, Steve Vetterl, FXESTrader.com, going to go through a 5-day review of the previous week in the September ES contract that we traded inside our trading room. Had a killer week, figured I'd start to do the weekend wrap-up or recap, if you will, specifically what the structure is built each day. We'll take a look at Globex, we'll take a look at the regular trading hour session, 9:30 a.m. New York. And I'll run through all the trades that we did. We had a fantastic week. So if anyone watching this video wants to learn a little more about who we are, what we do, the education that we offer, as well as the daily charts, you can click on my home page, take a look at the daily charts, this subscription service, take a look at the trading room. This is where this video is being posted as well. You guys can also take a look at the home page. The key thing with us is we want to teach people to learn to trade with consistent profitability. And that entails a fair amount of work, but it is attainable. So if you guys want to check us out, you can read a little bit of our bio, take a look at some of the testimonials on us as well. I also am in the process of putting some content up on our blog if you guys want to check that out. I wrote a pretty good story on the Fed and the bond markets here, but I have a number of different types of stories in here, from trading to so forth. A lot of these correspond with a lot of the videos that I do on our YouTube channel. If you're not already following me on Twitter, I have a pretty decent following. This is where you can really check out my track record, all the trades. I don't post every single trade the room takes on Twitter because it's just physically impossible to do that. But you can take a look at some of the stuff that I post. I'm fairly active on Twitter. One thing that I do find that's just awesome about Twitter is that if you follow the right people, many times some of the best folks out there, gentlemen like Trader 1806, can actually break these news stories before a lot of the feeds do by a few seconds to 5 or 6 seconds, I've found. In addition to getting lots of good research, and even during the day, some things you'd forget or not be paying attention to. Some of the right folks that are active on Twitter, they're really good at what they do. They post a lot of that stuff. So I'm entertaining putting a private Twitter account together, since I've had some interest in that in terms of an active place to post trades. Looking at the website here, just jump back real quickly. This is something I'm quite proud of. Just recently I've been put on the Market Delta preferred partners page, as well as the Trader Kingdom page. So the blogs that I write and some of the things I do for Trader Kingdom, this is actually an excellent website to read articles and stuff, take a look at on every. Also, if you want to check out Trader Kingdom, I'm up here as one of the experts. I'm going to start writing and shooting videos for this. They've got 2 of my blogs already posted up here as well. So if you guys want to read a little more about me, I put together hopefully what's a pretty decent little bio here, talking about my past experience and so forth in the industry. But let's go ahead and get started on this review. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the profile here. Keep in mind that we're going to be doing this review via a tool called Market Profile, which is a phenomenal charting that allows you to frame the auctioning process of the market. And if you're not familiar with this, I probably would go back and watch some videos to start on Market Profile so you can get a feel for the basic concepts surrounding it, because I'm going to replay the last 5 days, including the Globex sessions, which in my particular chart is split out. So you can see that if you look at the date down at the bottom, this was the start of the Sunday session of Globex in the highlighted yellow area. Same thing with Monday night. The RTH session, or the regular trading hours session of the ES, is not. So just keep in mind that it's not highlighted. It's, you can see where it says 9:30 down at the bottom. That way, as this playback begins to move, and it's going to move pretty quick, because I got 5 days of TPOs to go through, but you'll be able to just sort of picture how Globex develops. We'll talk about the trades that we may have taken in Globex, albeit I have not traded Globex a lot recently because it's been very dead. I think those days will come back when it's awesome again to trade Globex. But certainly early morning Globex, New York time, a couple hours before the markets, it certainly can be a tangible time to trade. I have a tendency, since I'm on the Pacific Coast, when the CME regular trading hour session opens up, it's real early for me, so I have a tendency to just get up and trade the RTH. But just keep in mind that I'm going to take these off the screen. Okay, so I've removed the highlighted sections of Globex. We're going to go ahead and go through this review now. Just keep in mind that I'm using what's called Market Delta software. It's being fed by DTN-IQ feed for the backfill, and it's being fed with CQG for the live feed. So sort of a dual redundancy feed, if you will. If you ever want to play back the profile, there's a really slick little, just open up this little red X box, go down here, and click play. So we're going to go ahead and do this now. And the profile is going to start to build itself out on Sunday night. So let's just go ahead and watch how it builds out for Globex. I'll call a few things out that I see as becoming evident while the profile is building, and it's building pretty quickly because I want this to go fast. So with that being said, we started off Sunday, very, very tight session here, as you can see, somewhat coiling, dead, no volume, Sunday, August, all that good stuff. Triple TPOs on the bottom here. So we're starting to form some ledges. I would expect them to try and get down and take out this triple TPO low first. Probably be a decent trade if we one tick that area. So let's see how we build out here. I'm not going to talk too much about Globex, but we can sort of say how the structure is built throughout the day for the September ES contract, which is what we're looking at. So double TPOs on the top and triple TPOs on the lows. Typically that shows an incomplete auction process. You want to get out and maybe test, possibly one tick those areas, may set up for a trade. Whole bunch of ledges under 1702 that are forming here. So I would expect us to go, there we go, one tick. So you could have actually gotten on that trade, gotten maybe a point and a half off it. And here we start with the RTH session Monday. Now, one thing to keep in mind, so this profile is quite condensed, quite coiled, if you will, for what move. You know, we don't know. At this point, you know, all we're doing is looking at a playback of the last 5 days. I'm not going to get into all the other support and resistance levels and the whole pile of the things on the composites that line up at different levels. We're just looking purely at the structure of how this is, you know, formed in Globex. But one thing is apparent, okay? We've got obviously the brown line you see here, which is the POC on the volume side. This was the highest bar. So again, if we'd opened up underneath that, certainly argues for a trade to be taken off the open, especially if we can see what's called an open drive, which we did see when I restart this replay again for Monday morning. An open drive, we were actually short off the open in the room for a whole host of other reasons I won't get into, but the key thing is just looking at the previous structure of the Globex. You know, we could have leaned on the 2.5s for that going. Okay, so let's go ahead and replay this. Okay, so we took some, really didn't get much of a decent scale off on that POC and the developing POC jumping around a little bit, but lining very much up with what happened in Globex. Okay, so we're continuing to build profile up higher. Notice that we ran a whole pile of stops underneath 17, and you know, going back down to test pretty much an incomplete structure on the profile. Mostly a neutral day building out here as well. It was an open auction in range from the previous day, Friday. We're also auctioning mostly in the range of Globex, which was a tight range. Seeing, you know, not even a 7-point range in the ES, a fairly tight range. Okay, so here we go, finished out the session. Going to be starting off into Globex now. Alright, so as the Globex session starts Monday night, let's just take a look at how the structure builds out. At a fairly strong POCs from the previous two sessions, one being Globex. Up at the high there, 1702. That would have been a decent area to get on a short. Doesn't look like we're going to see that though. Notice both settlements were similar in price, about a tick apart between the two sessions. Quadruple TPO ledge down here underneath. Probably get out and test that. Double TPOs at the high. Really an uneventful session. I mean, not too much trading that you could have really taken at this point, other than just quick scalps. So nice ledge took out. Notice how the POC had jumped in Globex to the high of the session. Now it has developed down back into 1701.50 area. Still double TPO highs. So for the opening session on a Tuesday morning, New York, I would expect for them to at least try and go get those double TPOs up there at 03.5. So notice they went down and got that ledge there as well. So it was a complete structure. Okay, so we opened up. We had an open test drive down, as you can see here. We tested up a little bit. Let me just stop this player so I can show you. With the open type's always important in market profile because you want to get a feel for what the players are doing. You know, whether it be aggressively initiative buying or selling. You really want to get a feel for, you know, what's going on. You know, and obviously there was news coming out and so forth through a lot of this. I mean, this is purely a video to just review what we did in the room as far as taking trades. But as it should also be, it's just a review for just understanding, you know, how the structure builds out. Just an absolute mass amount of information can be gleaned from just looking at the auctioning process. Many of the finest traders could trade just from a market profile chart. So I think it's critical in the analysis of the auctioning process for us to be able to look at what's developing and put a frame around it, a frame of reference that helps us build context. So what do we know at this point? Well, we know we have an open test drive, okay? We know that the highest node, at least at this particular point, and you know, we're barely an hour into the trading session Tuesday morning, is at 94.25. We also know that there was a single which was unconfirmed at this particular point at 16.95 1/4. And it's also the midpoint of trading where the POC is well. So if we're going to retest back up this area, and again, I've forgotten what happens. We'll see the replay. Probably a good opportunity for a short. But just keep in mind, much has been the pattern of recent that we have a big sell-off and then we just grind higher all day and literally becomes an entire bear trap the rest of the day. This happened all last week, literally. And, you know, broke a little bit on Friday afternoon. You know, I'll get into Friday's structure probably a little more so at the end of this video, but just understand that, I mean, there's a lot of you know, a lot of greater themes going on in the market, but the market loves to repeat patterns, and that's why the folks that are really good at Elliott Wave and understanding that can just absolutely kill it in trading from a short and midterm analysis standpoint. But the market loves to repeat its patterns. So I'm already on high alert that, you know, hey, maybe we got our fast sell-off and, you know, maybe we're going to grind higher all day, especially down here at the bottom, since we got a whole mess of really nasty tick spikes down. May have been an exhaustion level, especially if you look at both the any of the CCI calculations at the bottom. We were really oversold on, you know, both the turbo lines as well as the a whole pile of other indicators. So this happened all this week, and you know, the best trades this week have been just to buy the big dips that happen. If you're on the short from the opening, which we were twice last week, great. But it was a much easier trade just waiting for things to settle out a little bit and buying the dip. I mean, it was a pretty easy game to play. It's been an easy game to play for the last 4 years in this market. So let me go ahead and just click play. Let's just follow along with what happened. Just keep all that stuff in mind. Okay, so notice the volume POC dropped down to 91. Okay, so here's our retrace I talked about. and we were short off that, so we only got about a point or two in the room off that before we got stopped out at flat. But you notice the singles are still holding here and now confirmed at 1695. So as we continue to trade throughout the day, I did not get a fill there. I wanted to, would have paid a few points off it. Slow summer trading, so can't complain too much. Notice how the POC's still been jumping right around inside that 93 area as we're building out. Okay, now let me stop it right here. Before Q bracket built, and you can't really sort of back this up too much, so you just have to bear with me here. There was a quadruple TPO ledge going on there. Another reason that since we were staying around the 93 area, you probably could have taken more of a short, but it was dangerous at the time because you don't want to get caught in the middle in the chop, and I don't ever suggest that. A number of the guys in the room did take the short, got a couple points off it, great, but we were fully anticipating the auctioning to go back down under 1692. Why? Because it looked incomplete down there with the ledge that was showing up. Okay, so now Tuesday's trade is finished. What can we tell from the profile? Well, we knew we had an open test drive down, that we built what's called a B-shaped profile, and you can see here I drew a B around the shape of the profile. Oftentimes this is an excellent way to trade if we can get way down near the bottom and one or two tick the potential wedges that would show up, or double TPO lows in this case, is usually an excellent type of trade. So what do we know also? The 1695 1/4 singles, they've been defended. They were successfully defended all day. So that tells us the other time frame players have stepped into the market. Whether they're going to continue to defend it going forward, nobody knows. But we could see, and especially we were seeing on the footprint, absolutely nothing going off up there. And that's why I said, hey, look, if we can get a fill around 95, and if you front run it by a couple more ticks than that, you actually would have been on this trade. A couple guys in the room did decide to fill a little early. I still thought it was dangerous. Probably wanted to go up and see us try and at least auction to that point, but the footprint was showing in the order flow that it was being very well defended. So Globex session played out, and I've stopped the session just before it ended because I want to point out an important profile concept. Again, you can see I'm circling it. Another single formed. Doesn't carry as much weight as the single was formed in the RTH, but still notable. Okay, so let's take a look at the Globex. Stopped it just a little bit early. We had basically a double distribution form here. Note also the singles that had formed are confirmed. Carry a little less weight, obviously, than the single at 16, or I should say the single at 1695 1/4 that formed the previous day's RTH session. In Globex here, we had another single form. Doesn't carry as much weight. The double distribution pattern, I would say that, just based upon the structure I'm looking at here, we would want to look to short an opening drive up to 93, and certainly put a little bit heavier weight on if we were to get up to 1695 1/4. So let's go ahead and play the session. Okay, so let's start off a Wednesday morning here. We already are aware that 89 is the previous day's low. 89 is also the POC in a rather large ledge from the Globex session, as you can see here. So we were itching to short. That's also the midpoint as well. We were in a whole bunch of other things. We were itching to short this area in the room. So let's see how this plays out. Okay, so we shorted 89 and got paid in a big way. So some of the guys in the room were very heavy off of the open short, and let me just pause it right here so I can go through this with you. But so essentially this did exactly what we wanted it to do. We wanted to go up and one tick that ledge, maybe find a little bit, a couple of ticks into the previous day's low, and man, did the orders just freaking on the order flow market profile chart. The orders just poured in to sell. It was awesome. So I mean, this was just textbook market profile slash volume, in footprint order flow type trading example. So many in the room took, 7 points, 5 points. I took about 6.5 as the best scale on this trade. I was out of most of it before I hit the lower end of the range. I actually didn't think we were going to get down this far. So some of the folks in the room continued to hold the trade even though it retraced back up. Now, this was the beginning of a pattern that took us from Wednesday through Friday, and that was don't short the retraces back up, because you'll see when we continue to play the profile, we sort of ground around here, and then it was an absolute bear trap all day long. So I stayed off any trades back up. I know a couple took the retrace that you see there again, but the fact that we were building out another B-shaped profile to the bottom had me on alert that potentially things could change. And the algos were playing games with a lot of the retail crowd, and as you can see, they got squeezed. And I think this surprised a lot of people that we had this big fat reversal to the 88, 89 area again. Had it got up closer to 89, I'd have reshorted it. Or I should say closer to 1690, filling in a little bit of the incomplete auctioning process from both yesterday's low and the Globex area. I would have taken another shot at this again, so I didn't get filled. But excellent day as a whole. As you can see, we were building out a double distribution type of profile on the day, whereas the previous day was more of a neutral day. So here's we're finishing out the session here with settlement at, I forget where settlement was. Yeah, 1688. So let me just go ahead and let's take us through Globex here as well. Okay, so here we are partially into the Wednesday evening Globex session. I've paused so I can point a few things out. 1689. Now granted, this was in lower volume, but the 1689 singles, somebody stepped in to take us above that level. And, we formed 2 singles, which were both confirmed. We actually formed a third, but you can't see it. It's covered up here by continuing auctioning of the process. But so this is of a big note, okay? But we also have to keep in mind that it's coming on lower volume. I mean, it's summertime games. So, I mean, neither of these levels may even be worth a shit as far as I'm concerned in where we go, underneath them. It's entirely possible that this could be a fade trade. Now, again, we're just looking at a couple of days structure. There's a whole bunch of other stuff and trend lines and, but let's just focus on the profile and the auctioning process that it's showing us. So I'm just going to go ahead and push play. The retrace back to 89 would have been a good long had you gotten that opportunity overnight to take the bounce. So far we're gapping up for the next day's trade. And as you can see, we continued to move. And here now there's a third single. See, it got taken away. Technically it was confirmed, but again, slow hours of Globex. The double distribution profile you see forming out. Number of ledges, see they just got taken out. So it looks like there's some opportunities to trade coming into the morning hours here. Okay, yes. Got some incomplete and some notches down here that may need to get out and be filled. We already filled one of the missing notches. Now we got a big fat one missing down there at 89.25. Looks like it's being defended so far. Finishing out the session. Getting ready to open up, and I'll pause this so we can reflect upon what took place. But as you can see, we're still building on here, taking up some more ledges at the top. Strange shape to this profile. Double TPO highs, as you can see, now quad. They were taken out. We're running stops up here. Another single formed. Okay, so we certainly had some potentially other time frame players. Hard to tell until you see the next session trade of the RTH, but it's a player step in here. Okay, so let's stop this. What do we know? We know we got a strange shape to the profile. We know that we're right where the area was that was being so heavily defended a couple of sessions ago. So I'm already saying, hey, look, we've built a lot of the inventories overnight is long. this could be a great shot to break. Okay, so bang, we started the trading room this morning, and here we go. This was an awesome day. Okay, boom, we got short right there. It's 97 for, obviously the reasons I've illustrated. We took scales all the way down. Some great trades. We had a number of folks in the room with +5 and +6s off this. I think it was a +5.5 on first scales. Took a +7. Had a lot of it off. Ultimately led some runners for the 10-pointers that we got. So many of us had a rocking day. Let me just pause right here. Keep in mind a couple of things. We have 2 singles that were formed throughout this early session. Okay. Typically, it's more of a defendable area for the first one down here at the 1692 area, plus it was the POC. So, I mean, ideally, if we were to get back up to that level, that would be the most conservative short on a retrace. But, going all the way from 84 up to the 92 area is, it's a long move off the bottom. There was a whole bunch of folks that continued to short on the small retraces off of 84, and we didn't, because we were real concerned about having another trend day up. Now, unfortunately, in my bullheadedness, I did take a trade in the middle there, and just took some pretty serious heat and continued to hold the trade, and it eventually paid off into Globex, but I was really holding the loser for a while. And a number of guys had gotten out and so forth at this point. I didn't want to give up the day's P&L with this trade. So, not a great exercise in proper trade management. But, for the folks that, know what they're doing in trading and are well capitalized, I don't have a problem eating a couple of days P&L. But obviously I try not to do something like that. It has not been a common thing for me the last few months to, really give back much at all, because I've had well over an 80% win rate in a lot of these trades, especially in the ES. A little less of a win rate in the 6E contract that we trade, but and I haven't really traded any oil the last few months. But looking at the profile here, a couple of mistakes I made was, basically just not paying attention to the patterns of sell this thing off big and then grind all the way up the rest of the day and have it be a big fat bear trap. So, I'm cognizant of that, but it looked to me in the footprint like it was beginning to roll. So I figured, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. Didn't work out. But I was able to scratch the trade with a +1 in Globex, but I had to hold the damn thing for almost 8 hours. So, typically that happens to me once a quarter. So, and then I'll just sit on the trade, sit on a loss until I can get back. In some cases, I've sat for 7-10 hours waiting to get out of the trade, because eventually it'll come back down, and we were building the structure that looked like it would retrace at least enough to get me out. But for those that didn't follow me into the fire on that trade, they had an excellent day on Thursday. There's a number of guys in the room that did real well playing against some of my advice. So let's go ahead and play it back. And let's continue with the torture that was my next trade. So, going back up here, probably should have waited to a much, much higher, but, we ground all the way back, and it was crazy. All the way back. Just a squeeze-a-rooney on the shorts. But I was willing to take 97 area again if we got back up there, and never really got the fill I wanted to for, because a lot of this took place towards the end. But notice the double TPO's got one ticked. That was the chance to get on. I know a number of folks took that in the room. I was still holding the trade, obviously, so was just sitting up there taking big heat at 97. Looking at okay, so as we're playing out here, we're closing out towards the end. I finally got my retrace that I needed to get out, which was great. You see that building out in our bracket there. Okay, so I forwarded the profile to the finish of Globex Thursday night into Friday morning's trade. As you can see, we had a double distribution type of shape to the profile, and had a couple of singles form. We had a number of missing notches which came back and filled at 1690. If you want to replay it and go through the individual, you're welcome to on your own. But in the interest of trying to keep this video short, I'm going to go ahead and just make some notes. So here's what I see coming into Friday, okay? I want to take another shot at 1697 on the short side. It's been a pair all week, especially right off the open of the RTH session. So we've got a number of ledges up there that we're going to probably try and go for. And, you know, just really probably should have taken the... you know, the opportunity at any time between 1696 to 1697 to get short. And ideally, that was the trade of the day. So let's go ahead and see how that, that particular scenario would have played out. So here we are opening up. Certainly argued for being long off the open too, which a number of people in the room were looking to go grab the tops up there at 1697. So... okay, so went ahead and we took a short here and got a real nice payday on this again, right off the open. You know, just another spike down that we saw, got all the way down to, and there's actually a couple of attempts on retraces to get short throughout the day as well, which was great. But as you can see, we made it all the way down to 82. I bought the bottom, and probably should have had some more patience, but I bought all the way down from 85 to 83. Took a little bit of heat on it, but I was expecting a nice bounce, which we absolutely got. So that turned out to be quite a nice trade. I know a number of guys in the room took some big shots down there at 83, and they got paid a heck of a lot more than I did, and some of them held it all day, which was great. So ideally, I was looking for the pattern Friday late to break, and to break essentially the pattern that had been the case all week. So I was waiting all the way up here at 90 to 91 to basically get short again, and that's what we did. We took that trade, and you know, got another 4 points, reversing down towards the close Friday afternoon in our bracket that you'll see print out here. So all in all, in the room, about 20 points for the week. Some had more, some had less, but all in all, a freaking excellent week. And as far as Monday and next week, and you know, just preparing for Monday, always be looking at what the scenarios are playing out. Do the homework sheets that you guys have, and keep in mind that I still think we got a shot at maybe getting back up to 97. So I'd be looking to take long somewhere down in the 83 to 80 area. There's still a pile of stops down there at 1680. A pile of stops, in my opinion. And I really want to see, you know, all of that play out. But the bottom line is that, you know, if we're going to open up somewhere down there, which is entirely possible since we had a late Friday sell-off, we oftentimes will gap down and then reverse. The pattern could change next week where we reverse, go up during the morning, and then have possibly an afternoon liquidation. But, you know, you can never tell ahead of time. You can only just build scenarios based upon what you see on the profile. So if anybody's got any questions, they can send an email to me, steve@fxestrader.com, or you can just click on the website if you guys are looking for more information on the trading room. Have a great weekend.